Hey, fellow mathers. Before we get into this episode, we want to share with you how you can get access to free content, professional learning that will keep your students engaged and doing the math that matters. Get ready to go to this link, mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge.
That's right. Registration is open for the free Math is Figureoutable Challenge that's starting May 15th and runs to the 17th at 7 p.m. Central. We're going to have 3 nights jam packed with learning and routines that you can take straight to your classroom.
In these challenges, we have a great time. We do some math, talk about classroom experiences, give away super cool bonuses and prizes. You won't just walk away with routines that are naturally engaging and encourage your students to think mathematically. You'll also have a chance to win over 6K worth in prizes, including a few virtual PD sessions for your school. I'll be joined by my wonderful co-host Kim and special guest Jenna Labe.
You can register at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge for a fantastic learning experience. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Now on to the show.
Hey, fellow mathematicians. Welcome to the podcast where math is figureoutable. I'm Pam.
And I'm Kim.
And we make the case that mathematizing is not about mimicking steps or memorizing facts, but it's about thinking and reasoning, about creating and using mental relationships. Y'all, we take the strong stance that not only are algorithms not particularly helpful in teaching, but that mimicking algorithms actually keep students from being the mathematicians they can be. We answer the question, if not algorithms and step-by-step procedures, then what? All right, in this episode, we are going to have a little bit of fun because I've been thinking about something and I am going to live ask Kim what she thinks. You're going to hear maybe more than you ever wanted to about what Kim and Pam do in their free spare time when they chat.
Okay.
So often when Kim and I are on the phone or on a Zoom or we go on a workshop together or a film shoot together, and we're just chatting. It's funny because we do talk about some personal stuff, but often it will be, like we'll beat something out, and we both of us really enjoy kind of getting to the heart of the matter and helping each other understand what we really think and believe about some things.
Yep.
All right. So Kim, I have been playing with an idea. We are really clear. You and I are really clear that doing mathematics, that being a mathematician, mathematizing is not about speed.
Yeah.
It's not about being fast. And we both have some experiences in our life with people that are close to us who've had very negative experiences with math because of time pressure.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was one of them. My daughter didn't like time pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have some people in
My
your
kids
your
have
life.
had that experience.
I wasn't going to volunteer that it was your
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, they definitely have.
And so I've been thinking a lot about the fact, and I've mentioned it every once in a while, but I kind of want to dive into it a little bit more about how that's similar to the fact that I played basketball. So if you ever watch me on a Zoom, you'll notice I have a basketball behind me, kind of in my background. Basketball was fun for me. I played a lot as a youth. I've played as an adult a little bit. And interesting for me, I was not particularly quick. So I could last the game. Like I had pretty good stamina. I don't know. I could, I could run the whole game, but I wasn't the quickest kid on the court, but I was allowed to play. And I wonder sometimes if I were to try to compare this to math, I wonder sometimes if we have misunderstood the game. Now, not maybe everybody, but I think a lot of people, if you've ever taken our quiz, if you haven't taken our quiz yet, we'll put that in the show notes to go take our perspectives quiz on what math is. But I think there's a lot of people who, like me, thought that math was a disconnected set of facts to memorize and rules and procedures to mimic. And that's what we did. And if you were fast at recalling those disconnected sets of facts, and you were fast at mimicking those procedures and steps, then you were sort of considered good at math. And I'm suggesting that is not the game of math. Mm-hmm. And basketball, when I was allowed to play the real game of basketball. And I wonder if by misunderstanding the game, we have not allowed kids to play the real game of mathematics. And even if Kim, if they have a different perspective or had a different perspective growing up, more like you did, where you did a lot of things using relationships and connections, you played a lot with numbers. But am I correct that even in your life there was a little bit of misunderstanding about the game?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had teachers who, um,
Like, did you show what was going on in your head when you
no, because it
say more
wasn't a
about that?
thing. It wasn't a thing, right? It was, I always, and, I love my teachers, but I was a teacher pleaser to the degree that I never spoke about what I did in my head to anyone. It wasn't what math was in quotes. And, I definitely messed with number a ton, but it was about following their rules and recording on paper. I can remember my dad being kind of irritated with me when I would do homework because I would have a conversation with him about whatever. And then I would dutifully write on my paper all the, carry the ones and whatever. And he would be like, "What are you doing?"
Because you just had a conversation about what's happening in your brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Yep.
would record what you were
Yep.
supposed to record.
I want to see something before you get away with it.
Okay.
And I don't know where you're going because we haven't talked about this. But when you just said people weren't allowed to play the game, it instantly, when you said you were allowed to play basketball, and even though you weren't necessarily fast, it makes me think of around the world and how the kids that don't continue to play, like they're just shut out because they weren't fast.
Well, let's maybe describe it. Maybe everybody has so around the world, 2 kids stand up.
Yep.
The teacher flashes a fact.
Uh-huh.
Whoever says it first stays up.
Yeah.
So then a new kid stands up. Teacher flashes a fact. Whoever gets it right stays up.
Yep.
Okay, so now what were you saying about that?
So we're rewarding fast instantly. And then even it's so contradictory because even in those teachers' minds, the way that it's supposed to work is it's supposed to help everyone get better, but it still only rewards the kids who already know or are the quickest at knowing, right?
Well,
so
and who gets practice during that?
the kid who is the fastest. It's ridiculous.
Everybody who doesn't know a fact sits down and then they get no more practice. Yeah. So it like in whose universe is that a good activity? It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent point. I want to bring up a little bit about something that kind of comes up in this. This is all not very well formed in my head. So thanks everybody for letting me sort of beat it out. But I'm aware that there's this sense of in me about what the game really is and allowing kids to play. So even though I was a little slow and I'm short, so I wasn't quick, I'm short, I was allowed to actually play the game. Here's what didn't happen. I wasn't put over in like go over on the sidelines, and until you can dribble for so much time and until you can let me separate these little tiny skills into, and until you can do that, I'm not letting you on the court. Like in 5th grade, they put us on the court, like threw the ball at us and said, go. And we just had a blast, like just playing the game. Now, I'm not saying we didn't ever pull things apart and look at some specific skills and get better at things. But let me take one in particular. So as a high school player, I learned what a triple threat was in basketball. And I may get way too, some people are like, Pam, really, you're talking about basketball? Well, bear with me for just a second. So I learned this thing called a triple threat. And if you hold the ball just right and you get your body in the right stance, then it's called a triple threat because in that moment I can shoot from that place. I can shoot immediately, quick, bam, the shot is up and I'm scoring. I can immediately go and dribble. From that, if I'm in the right place, my body and the ball, I can go and dribble, or I can pass. Bam! So I can do 3 things right from there. I have no wasted motion. I have no. So it's really important because if you can get that down, that when you catch the ball, you're instantly in that triple threat. Now you are a threat in 3 ways, and the defense now has to sort of watch for all those things. Blah blah blah. My point in bringing that up is, even though I spent time, A, getting that stance down and having the ball in the right place, and B, practicing all 3 of those options in that game, when I caught the ball, I then had those options. I was free to choose how to play the game. I would submit that in math, if we have misunderstood the game of mathematics, we have said to kids, thou shalt dribble. Or in this case, when you catch the ball, in this case, on this place in the floor, you have to shoot. And we have taken away, we haven't even taught them the other things. We've given them something to do, that may or may not make sense to them. It might be the series of steps that it's not their work. And then they have no freedom, no agency, no, I don't know what's another word, that like to choose. They're not empowered at that point. It's just like, do the thing. So if I can sort of compare the two activities, I think even worse than that, we've taken some kids, and if they couldn't do one of those things, then we haven't even let them on the court.
Right.
And I think that's interesting. Okay, so what do I mean by that in math? We have said, if you don't have your facts memorized, then you just keep working over here. You just keep doing your facts. And we just keep giving them things to do, steps to do, and over every year, we just keep drilling the same things. And kids never get a chance to actually play the real game. I don't know. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking specifically about in classrooms where you have opportunities to have kids shine in other areas and they don't even get to participate in that because they're sitting at a table somewhere working on their facts. Like you have a rich task going on and they don't even get to participate in the conversation or the puzzles or because they have to get out of fact practice, or they go to a small group somewhere. And so they miss something that's happening in a classroom that's richer because they don't quote get the basics yet. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
in
all
fact,
precursor.
I remember you as a teacher telling me, quit taking my kids out for their, I don't know what you called at that point, but like RTI or special, like the kids would be pulled out of your math class for math help. And you
Yeah.
were like, no.
No, thank you.
Like leave them in here. They need this experience, and B, we need them here.
Yes.
So we might have a creative thinker. We might have a spatial thinker. We might have a kid who is a really good arguer, like creates really good arguments and justifying thinking. We might have students who are more adept at deductive reasoning and students that are more adept at inductive reasoning. And if those kids don't happen to have this one little like bit of something done, then yeah, like you said, we sort of set them aside. All right, you go over there, do that thing. Well, and I'll say it again, not only are they missing out, but we are missing out on what they would bring to the table.
Yeah. Don't you think also that it has something to do with like somebody who has a very linear approach to learning? This
Mm-hmm.
idea that like there are all these skills in order and you can't move on until you get all these skills. And that's just not where you and I are coming from.
Yes. And I also think there's a little bit, boy, I was going to go somewhere. Can you hang on to that?
Yeah.
Where I thought you were going was we might have a learner who sees all connections
Mm-hmm.
and we want to keep that learner in the discussion next to the learner who's a little bit more of like, wait, I can't think about that till I think about this. And I've got to like, wait, I have to connect this to that before we have different strengths.
Yeah.
And those two learners will be better for interacting with each other.
Yeah. Well, and a personal example is I've got a son who does think deeply about stuff and makes choices about stuff. And so you know what does? It slows him down. But it has absolutely nothing to do with his ability. In fact, I happen to think that he has more connections than many people, but he has to wade through which ones are going to be useful in that moment.
And that takes him a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't maybe appear
Yep.
to be, I don't know,
He's not the fastest one in the group, for sure.
He's definitely not appearing to be the fastest one, which then could translate to, oh, I guess you're not as mathematically adept, or you don't understand as much. When in reality, he understands far more. And it's the fact that he's actually parsing through what he knows because it's so cool, because he's so connected. But if you're not asking questions and you're not giving students experience in rich tasks, you're not going to see that. You're not going to be able to acknowledge that. And then kids will be the ones that are not allowed on the court. Then okay, you're over here. All you can do are sort of these drills over here, and we're not going to let you actually play the real game of math.
Yeah.
So there's another part of this that it's connected in my head. We'll see that if it actually is sort of connected. Where sometimes people will talk to me about talent, and they'll say, but Pam, some kids just have the math gene. Some kids are just better at math, and there's kids that are better at. So this is tricky for me. And Kim, feel free to like help me do this. You know me well enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cop to the fact. I'm going to own up that, yeah, like I think there is some talent involved. Just like when I played basketball, I was not the most talented kid on the court. I was not the quickest. I was definitely not the tallest. In other words, I didn't have some inherent things. You're like, Pam, tall is not talent. Yeah, but it's like an inherent thing, right? My parents are
It's a
normal, or
benefit.
normal. I just said normal. My parents are average size, not normal. And so I'm 5'6.5", which is always funny because my basketball coach always listed me as 5'7". No, sorry, I have it backwards. The basketball coach listed us short. The volleyball coach listed us tall. It was all this mind game. It was kind of, anyway, funny. So I didn't have sort of some natural things that you might be like, Pam, that's not your game, don't play. But I was allowed to play.
Yeah.
Not just here, you got to go do all this crazy, these weird disconnected drills and stuff until you're sort of good enough to get on the real court. No. Like, I was allowed to get on the court and actually play the game. And because I worked so hard, then I was good enough that I made the varsity team. I played, we always took at least fourth at the state championship game. And I had the opportunity to play semi-pro basketball in Switzerland. I mean, I was allowed to play the game to whatever extent that I wanted to play because it was the real game. And I worry sometimes that we look at sort of this natural talent thing and we say, oh, well, maybe because I don't see you quickly doing something that I consider to be, oh, well, you better be able to do that at math. I have no idea what my snap sounds like on a podcast. I'm snapping when I do that. You don't care. I worry that we're like, well, if they don't have this natural talent at math, then there's no way that you're going to be able to do the real math. So we're gonna put you over here until you look like you can, I don't know, repeat your facts over and over quick enough. Okay. If I may,
can I jump in?
Yeah. Go.
Because I just had a short conversation with one of our journey members who said that some of her coworkers think that what we're talking about, problem strings and rich math and tasks and like real math, is for some kids only. And what they've identified is it's for quote unquote advanced kids, that it's not for every kid.
I'm screaming in my mind right
now.
now.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
And so to be clear, I think that is a typical, I definitely have had colleagues who kind of had that mindset. Okay. I had colleagues who even had more of a, I literally had colleagues at one of the schools that I taught at. We had a math hall and all the math teachers were in the same hall. And my colleague said to me, if they don't want to be here, let's just not even have them in this hallway. Like if they're not the advanced student, we don't even want them here. And I'm like, because what they were judging on was sort of this natural talent thing that they sort of looked at. If you don't have the math gene, we don't want to deal with you. And what Kim and I are saying is, come and play with us. Come and play the real game. It is not just for the quote unquote advanced learners, whatever that means for you. It's not just for the quick kids or the high flyers or the real math is for all kids. And if I may, I just want to sort of stay with basketball for just a second. So part of what made me a good basketball player, like that allowed me to play in Switzerland, is I knew the game. I was the one who could like tell you intricacies about what the other team was doing, the plays they were running, how we could counter them well. As an example, one of the players on my high school team who played ahead of me. So she was on the court before I was. She was, in other words, like my coach considered her a better player than me, and sat down one day in the middle of a game. And I was trying to figure out what kind of zone they were playing. So zone is a kind of defense. I was getting really particular about like what kind of zone, so that I would, could when I got out there, I was going to know better how I could sort of counter that. And she turned to me and she said, "Are they playing zone or man?" Now I know we're in a math podcast, so you'd be like, "Pam, why are you talking about basketball?" So that's like a really broad general question. That's like anyone in my mind. I was like, "Really? You don't even know if they're okay?" Like, and I was like, I knew the game. So that kind of could counter some of her natural athleticism because I knew the game. That I had some skills that could sort of weigh up. I'm not saying that well. That could measure up. That's the word I want. I could measure up. I could get on the court with her because she had some natural athleticism and I had sort of some natural sense about the game. Yeah. Is that true in our mathematics class? And we're suggesting that could be true.
Can I add one more thing?
It is true. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know a ton about basketball, but I do know that Michael Jordan was pretty average, right? And what he did was give himself a lot of experience. So he was like notoriously known for his childhood growing up being every day on the court, after school, on his home, hoops,
Time,
time.
experience,
Right,
experience,
right.
experience.
And so the more experience we can give all kids, we've continued to say is going to help all kids. Like
Yeah,
experience
all kids.
matters so much.
Experience matters. And so if we set them aside, go do these drills over here until we're going to allow you to play the real game. It's
Mm-mm.
not the way to help everybody advance, because we need their voice in as well. Absolutely. So one more kind of unrelated thing that I wanted to bring in along this talent kind of a thing. I just want to give one more illustration. So weird. I was in the jazz choir in high school. And in order to get in the jazz choir as a sophomore, because no, there were only juniors and seniors, I tried out and became the bass player. So I played the bass guitar. I was in the rhythm section, and just quickly, I wasn't all that good, but I could read music. What I wasn't the kid that could pick up the guitar and jam. I wasn't the kid that could just like start playing. Like sometimes people were like, "Hey, let's just jam," and they would all start playing, and I would sit there. I was like, "Hand me some music." Like I don't know what that means to just jam. That's my talents lie in being able to read the music and play what's supposed to be. Now I could actually create a part, but I had to kind of like know the key and all the things. But the drummer in our jazz choir, he was phenomenal. That guy could play anything. And not only could play, he could sing. Oh, that guy could wail. I swear he was like Billy Joel. Like every time we would do anything, everybody loved John, and he was just had this natural flair and talent. But when we went to competition and we had to do the sight reading part, very, very few people knew this, but John couldn't read music. He just faked it so well. And so I hope John doesn't mind me like telling everybody that. I don't think he would mind. Hey, John out there. He's not a math teacher. It's fine. So when we went to competition and we have to do the sight reading competition, they would give us a brand new piece of music that we'd never seen, and they would give us a certain amount of time and all this protocol and everything, and we would have to learn the music as fast as we could, and then they would come in and they would judge us on how well we were able to perform that piece of music in a quick, we only had so much time to quickly learn it and then play it. Well, as soon as they would give us the music and leave, the conductor would work with the singers, and I would turn to John and I would go, "Okay, dude, it's like this." And I would walk him through the music because I could read music. That was a talent I had. And then he would go, "Okay, this and then that." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then they would walk back in and they would say, "Okay, everybody, here we go." And the conductor would lead us through it. And as we would do it, and everybody's singing, I would go, "John, two measures, one measure, go." And now it's going to be the swing section. And now it's going to be the jazz section. And now it's going to be and I would like talk him because he didn't read music. And then we were phenomenal. Our rhythm section was amazing, but we had different talents. We brought different talents to the mix, and that made the world better. I would suggest we ask you, math teachers, to consider that all students bring a brilliance to our math classes when we play the real game of mathematics. When we're actually mathematizing the way mathematicians mathematize, everybody can join in and everybody has a place on the court of real math. So if you want to learn more mathematics and refine your math teaching so that you and students are mathematizing more and more, then join the Math is Figureoutable movement and help us spread the word that math is figureoutable. Thank you for listening and making math more figureoutable.
To learn even more, make sure you register for our free challenge at mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. You are not going to want to miss the evenings of May 15th through 17th, starting at 7 p.m. Central.
Math teaching, go register now. That's mathisfigureoutable.com/challenge. Join us to make math more and more figureoutable. And if you can't join live, register and we'll send you access to the recordings. We'll see you there.